time, we honor the students who lost their lives during the 16 June 1976 Soweto Uprising. These students were not only fighting for a better education system, but for a prosperous future for all young people. However, young South Africans today still face challenges, those of unemployment, drug abuse, poor skills, and limited access to healthcare. Now, as an attempt to fight against these challenges, earlier this year, the presidency, led by the Deputy Minister Buti Manamela, presented the 2020 National Youth Policy. Also recently, President Jacob Zuma launched the Youth Working Group that will work within the framework of the National Youth Policy to accelerate youth development in South Africa. Now, to give us the broad points, we have the Deputy Minister himself in our parliamentary studio. Very good morning to you, Mr. Manamela. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me here. Good morning to you.
It must be a big month for you, lots of engagements, I'm sure, lots of conversation, but tell us about your work with the Youth Working Group and then how you've seen things develop since you've started this process.
Look, immediately after Cabinet adopted the National Youth Policy, which was as a result of massive consultation, the President appointed the task team of 17 Deputy Ministers to coordinate the work of the Presidential Youth Working Group. And also more than 20 youth organizations were invited to form part of the working group. The aim is to ensure that we develop a strategy of implementation and get the president to listen to young people directly on what they think will work in relation to taking further youth development forward. And I think a lot of interesting things came out. A lot of targets were set. I mean, we agreed that in the next 24 months, we have to target all young people who are not in an education institution or training institution into a national youth service. We're hoping that we will meet the target of 1 million. Yesterday, we were launching a mentorship program for entrepreneurship, which we also hope will get young people excited about getting into business, being innovative, and also helping to grow the economy. Together with the other deputy ministers in the task team, we are going to be championing the recruitment of young people into internships. As you know, we now have about 240,000 graduates who are not in a job, who are in the NYDA and Department of Labor database, and more are joining that queue. So we're going to look at placing them as interns. We're going to look at retraining, reskilling, so that they change their focus. And very soon we'll be releasing the report on the Youth Employment Accord, which was signed about 2 years ago, to see what progress has been made and also what needs to be done. Yes, we understand that a lot of progress has been made. This is the 39th anniversary of June 16, but it is also the 21st anniversary of our democracy. Progress has been made, but we think that the challenges are still there, and young people are quite hopeful that with this sort of determination, and especially with the president placing youth development in his office, we think that we will be steering the ship in the right direction.
Partnerships is crucial to the success of this project that you're overseeing. Are you happy with the kind of engagements and that you're seeing from the private sector? Because it's really crucial for the private sector to assist in this program, isn't it?
Most definitely. Look, there seemed to be this idea that if there is some form of political revolt in our country, the target would be government, precisely because of the narrative that has been established. With most of the problems, if there are retrenchments in some gold mine, people would want to blame government. Those are the type of things that we've been looking at. But we are reaching out to government. For instance, this platform I was talking about, this mentorship program that we launched with the Mara Foundation and the NYDA, is in partnership with the private sector in the telecom industry, the banking industry, and we will be looking at more people within the private sector, leaders in the private sector to work with young people. But we're also looking at working with them to support the National Youth Service and also to place young people for workplace training programs in internships, learnerships and all of that, because we believe that everyone has their bit to contribute. The young the leaders participated with so much energy in the presidential working group, and so did civil society, and so did the students' organizations, and we will be going out there together with the NYDA to ensure that the private sector contributes more. I think that one of the highlights of last year's work of the NYDA was its ability to raise close to 89 million rands, from the private sector to further its program. And we think that we can still do more, and we will be talking, to the private sector to ensure that they too contribute more in youth development programs.
I'm sure you've heard the phrase youth unemployment too many times in the last year. Just your views on that issue, and then tell us the NYP 2020. You happy that you're on track?
Look, 1 in 3 young people are unemployed, and that's big. But we think the solution is not only to create jobs, but to support youth entrepreneurship. And that's why, the big drive is to, raise the appetite of young people towards starting their small businesses. Unfortunately, it's not going to be easy. Young people will have to take risks. They will have to, take responsibility of people that they'll be employing. They'll have to take responsibility of testing whatever product that they put into the market. But we guarantee them their support. We guarantee them, that there would be an environment within which all of those can grow. Last year, about 1,043 young people were supported by the NYDA as small businesses, which yielded about 4,000 plus jobs. And we think that, more can actually be done if we get more young people focused into, not only being people who look for jobs, but also people who want to hire other young people into their jobs. Entrepreneurship is one of the solutions which we can resolve poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Moving forward, the big other thing which we had, interestingly, was young people are saying we have policies, but will this one be implemented? And, we cracked our heads. What we've decided we're going to do is we're going to use the monitoring and evaluation department to ensure that they plug all the targets that have been set in the National Youth Policy 2020 into the country's program, which is the medium-term strategy framework. This means that every quarter we will be, putting together a report that says, in terms of youth policy, this is what this cluster of government has done, or the state-owned enterprise, and giving that report to the president. Since the president has placed this in his office, he would want to see progress and action, and also the presidential working group and parliament would want to see us moving in terms of implementing youth development. So it's no longer the responsibility of the NYDA, it is the responsibility of the whole of government to ensure that we change the lives of millions of young people.
I thank you for joining us today. That is the Deputy Minister in the Presidency, the man who's got the toughest job, looking after the future of our country. Yes, that is the National Youth Policy 2020. That's the work of Mr. Buti Manamela, sitting within the Presidency. It's been prioritised